Hi there, everyone. Welcome to The Daily Gardener. I'm your host, Jennifer Eveling. It's May 28th. Gardeners, horticultural experts, professors even. On the garden path, you can, from time to time, run into people that can decimate you faster than a Japanese beetle on green beans. Let's just set one thing straight. Gardening is good for you, but people who give gardening advice can sometimes be bad for you. If the folks giving you advice aren't respectful, helpful, or loving, they shouldn't be in the business of helping people garden. The world needs every gardener it can get, and the best thing you can give a gardener is encouragement. Here's today's brevities. It's the death day of William Herbert. He died on this day in 1847. He was a British botanist, a distinguished scholar and poet, an Amaryllis breeder, and a clergyman. In 1837, Herbert wrote a book about the Amaryllidaceae, or the Amaryllis family. The Amaryllis was named after Virgil's shepherdess, Amaryllis, from Greek mythology, meaning to sparkle. Nearly 2 decades earlier, Herbert had split the genre in two, creating one genre for the original Amaryllis genre named by Linnaeus, and the other genre for what he called the Hippeastrum. Hippeas for rider and astron for star, thus the horseman's star. Gardeners surmise that the closed buds of the flower look something like a horse's ear, and the blossoms are shaped like 6-pointed stars. Thus, it's the Hippeastrum genre that gives us the large bulbs that we pot up in the winter, and we lovingly call them by their common name, Amaryllis, but they are really Hippeastrum. Yeah, it does not roll off the tongue, does it? When the change was announced, even the eminent horticultural empire builder Harry Veitch challenged it. Are we wrong in continuing to call these grand flowers after the name of the Virgilian nymph and substitute the rougher Hippeastrum for the softer Amaryllis? It's the birthday of Carl Richard Nyberg, born on this day in 1858. He was the Swede who created the blowtorch, which in turn led to today's flame weeder. Although Nyberg worked on countless other inventions, his heart actually belonged to aviation. He became known as the Flying Nyberg, and he practiced on a circular wooden track in his garden. The fact that he attempted it at all was something of a miracle. Nyberg was afraid of heights. In Unearthed Words, Greek mythology tells the story of Amaryllis. She met a handsome shepherd on the mountainside. His name was Alteo, and she fell in love with him. Alteo had a heart only for flowers. Amaryllis went to the oracle at Delphi, who gave her a golden arrow. The oracle told Amaryllis that each night she must dress all in white and stand outside Alteo's house. Then she must pierce her own heart with the golden arrow. For 29 nights, Alteo slept soundly, never hearing Amaryllis cry out. But on the 30th night, Alteo awoke to her cry, and when she knocked on his door, he opened it. There Amaryllis stood in her white gown. Her heart was fully healed, but on the ground, wherever her blood had been shed, were the most magnificent scarlet flowers Alteo had ever seen. He knelt before her and pledged his undying love to Amaryllis. Here's a little poem I wrote about the Amaryllis. Amaryllis is so sweet and fair, a name that's true, beyond compare. Though Herbert made the genre split, he picked a name we'd soon forget. So Gauche it starts with Hippeast, In the game of names, it comes in last. Rather, follow like sheep were Linnaeus led, honoring a shepherdess who willingly bled for the love of a shepherd who saw her not. But oh, Amaryllis, gardeners have not forgot. Today we say, Alteo who, but at your name we can construe the bulb that blooms in winter's chill. Amaryllis, you are with us still. Today's book recommendation is Medieval Herbals by Minta Collins. Minta explains how herbals became the backbone of knowledge for medical scholars. The books were expensive, difficult to obtain, and often invaluable. I, for one, love that someone named Minta wrote a book about herbals. Hardcover versions of this book sell for over $300. However, the link in today's show notes can get you access to paperback copies on Amazon for just over $30. That's a 90% savings. For today's garden chore, address exposed tree roots with mulch instead of soil. Tree roots can sometimes erupt on the surface of the soil. Many gardeners have a tendency to want to bury the roots, but don't put more than 1 inch to 1.5 inches of soil on top of the exposed root. Otherwise, you can actually smother the tree. Placing a small layer of mulch on top of the tree root is preferred. Mulch is lighter, it has more air pockets, and when rained on, creates an organic tea. Finally, here's something sweet to revive the little botanic spark in your heart. On this day in 1919, New Hampshire selected the purple lilac as the state flower because they said it symbolized the hardy character of the men and women of the Granite State. In 1750, the first lilac was planted at the home of the first governor, Benning Wentworth. An Englishman, Wentworth had brought the lilac along with other trees and shrubs when he immigrated to America. Nearly 200 years later, New Hampshire Governor Francis Murphy commemorated a planting on April 25, 1939. He remarked, 6 root cuttings were taken from the very first lilacs from the garden of the first colonial governor of New Hampshire. We are very proud of this little flower, which is uniquely ours. And as I plant these roots today, I ask you to join with me in the hope that they may thrive and in the course of time grow into full beauty. And here's one final note about the Wentworth lilacs. The lilacs planted at Mount Vernon by George Washington are also slips taken from the Wentworth estate. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener, and remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day. The Daily Gardener is produced weekdays in lovely Maple Grove, Minnesota. You can find complete show notes over at thedailygardener.org, and be sure to share the show with your garden friends. You can find The Daily Gardener on all your favorite social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, and of course, Facebook. While you're over at Facebook, don't forget to join the Daily Gardener community. Just search for these 3 words, Daily Gardener Community. The group will pop right up and then request to join. Finally, I want to thank my team at Podfly Productions, where my fabulous editor is Eric Begay. Have a great day in the garden, and we'll see you tomorrow.